Folks, Machine Repeat here, and I haven't traveled very far today, just up the road about 20 miles to Pine Island, Minnesota. And when I say Pine Island, I think you probably have accurately guessed that I'm here with my good friend Danny Anderson, Dirt Boys, known worldwide.
Hi, Greg.
Danny, always a pleasure to come up, and we've connected here recently. Well, actually, back earlier in the fall, you sold the first ever 1086.
Yeah, serial number 1. Yeah.
And I think the one, what'd that go for, like 67.6 or something?
61.5, I believe. Yep.
And that was a record high price I think we've ever seen on a 1086, if I believe. And I think we did a story on that like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in 13, I think we did
Yep.
that story. Yeah, 10 years ago.
And I think we were on property here in fall of 15 when you had an auction.
Yeah. Sold off a bunch of my other tractors that I had. Yeah. Gold Demonstrator went out to California to Tony Ramus Farms out
Tony,
there.
everyone knows Tony out there. And that was a 1456 Demonstrator?
Yep. Gold. Yep.
Was it 40,000 or something like that?
Yeah. 40. I think
Back in
it
the
went for
day.
40,000 even.
It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like that was just over 8 years ago.
Yeah.
The time goes
Time
fast.
flies.
But folks, again, we're in the workshop here in Pine Island, Minnesota, and you can tell we've got some amazing tractors here. Now, this is a multi-level story. We need to start with the tractor in the back, and you red folks, you've all seen this and heard the story, but always good to, again, tell the story. Danny, now this tractor is 5388. That was not actually a model that International came out with, but tell us the scoop here.
So this tractor back here, the 53, I put this number on the hood, but this tractor, this complete tractor, single door cab, International Harvester had this tractor all built at the time of the merger. And then after the merger, they took the tractors that they had built and they hauled them up to Racine, Wisconsin, and then they converted these tractors into the Magnum. So it took from January 2nd of 1985 till the fall of 87 at the Farm Progress Show is when they come out with the Magnum tractor, which was built out of this tractor. But at the time of the merger, they didn't want to use any of the International Harvester look. So that's why this forward airflow and these hoods, they just took the whole front half of this tractor off from right here at the cab forward, and they swapped this out and they built the frames, put the 8.3 Cummins motor in there, the tilt-up hoods, all nice things, good features. They changed out the bar axles in the back, put the case wheels on it, and then they made enhancements in the cab. They put the data center in out of the 94 series case tractor. But as far as what you're looking at here today, minus this rooftop, this is what you would have seen at the Farm Progress Show in 1985, would have been the introduction of this tractor.
And this tractor that you built, Danny,
I put this tractor together just because I worked at IH and Case IH for 17 and a half years, to be exact. I knew about this tractor at the time of the merger, and it never came about because we had the 50 series, and then this thing never showed up until they introduced the Magnum in the fall of 87. So
right.
I put this thing together just as kind of a history piece, and to be honest, I should just say Case and IH, when they merged, they did not want to give International Harvester any credit for this tractor. And after meeting with engineers at Chicago at Hinsdale when I restored that articulated Magnum for Case IH a few years ago, I got to meet one of the engineers there, and he told me straight up, he said, this tractor, what we're looking at right here, was the last tractor that he built for International Harvester before the merger went through. So,
and you built this out of a 7130?
this is the back half of this is a 7130, the front is a 5488. This cab I just put on a few years ago. When I originally built this tractor, it had a 4-post open station setup on it. This cab came out of engineering. The wiring harness date codes on there are dated, I think it's the 4th month of 1987, and these tractors didn't come out until the fall of 87 at the Farm Progress Show. So it was a test cab that they had, but it is brand new. It doesn't even have a serial number plate on it, but it's a brand new cab, and I put it on here. It's really nice, especially I use this tractor farming. I just rented out my ground a couple years ago, but this tractor's hauled corn and beans to town and done tillage work and whatever. So it's got like 500 and some hours on it now.
And Danny, Red folks have enjoyed getting up close to this tractor and talking to you about it and the history for years now. You first took it out to Red Power Roundup, was it?
Madison, Wisconsin in 2009, I believe was the first show I took this thing to. It was a huge hit, and it's been a huge hit every show we take it to.
Right.
I can't hardly walk away from the tractor. I actually physically have to get in somebody's golf cart and drive away because the people want to come and they want to see this thing and they want to sit in it and they want to talk about it. And what if the International Harvester would have got this thing out? And
right.
they were this close. I mean, the hard times of the 80s with the interest rates and what was going on with the farm all and, you know, with unions and what, it was just bad times. There was just a lot of bad times, and that's why this tractor didn't make it out.
Well, Danny, I think as interesting as the tractor is, I think the folks that stop to visit you, the real fun there is talking to you. And because you're living IH history.
Yeah.
Now let's go a little deeper there again, and it goes back to our videos 10 years ago, but you were a young buck in high school.
Yeah, I started at our IH dealer in our hometown. I was 17 years old. And
Elkader, Iowa?
Elkader, Iowa, yeah. Joe A. Romberg was the name of the implement, and Joe had kids that were my age, and I graduated with one of his daughters, and I was the last guy that he hired before he retired. So that was my claim to fame for Joe, I guess, and he got me to start in this business, and we've just moved on. And after the merger went through, this stuff, they wanted it just to go away, and I've always wanted to preserve history, and that's why we're doing what we're doing here today. And we restored these other two little tractors that are behind you. They're one of one ever built too.
Yeah, let's talk history here and back up, folks, and talk about these two tractors that you saw in our opening shot. Because, and Danny, we had run into each other recently. You told me about this bear. Now,
this little guy here is a 40 horsepower. Obviously, you see this hood design. These tractors were built over in England, I believe Doncaster, England, the tractor. The powertrain of these tractors is the same as like the 674, 574. They've had them, they're proven, they've been around for a long time. And then as time went on, they designed this cab. This cab was it was drawn by a man, an engineer out in Chicago that worked at Hinsdale. He drew this tractor, and then they worked with the Porsche company, and they built this cab with the International Harvester. It's a beautiful cab, it's quiet. These hoods were all handmade. The first ones, the cab and these hoods were all made out of wood. And I have pictures out of wood. And then they went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, out to where the trucks were built, and pickups and all that, scouts. And then they built these hoods out of clay. And then these are made out of fiberglass, and they're hand built, these hoods. So as far as we know today, these are the only two that exist. There might possibly be another one, we don't know yet. But
so the 485 model was around.
Yes. Yeah, we had a 480, 384, 484, 584, so on. Then these tractors would have been released with the tractor back here, the 53.
So again, in 85 when the...
And then when the merger went through, they didn't want this design. You know, they wanted to carry on with the new look, so that's when they built the Magnum.
Right.
And then these tractors, they went back to the old IH hood that was on like a 484 or whatever, 684.
Okay.
They went back to that and just changed the decal on them, and they ran those tractors in the lineup until they come out with the 5100 series Maxim.
Okay. So we're gonna keep telling the story here, folks. Let's peel around, and this is
this is the 885.
Yep.
And same design. This one has a 4-cylinder in it with a turbocharger on it. The 485 has a 3-cylinder in it with no turbo. It's naturally aspirated. But
now the X on
that was experimental. These were on there. This X wouldn't have been on the production tractors, but they were on these because they were built ahead of time, and then full production tractors would not have had the X on.
Okay. And these two tractors, our good friend Kurt Amman with Amman Vintage Power, Nokomis, Illinois, a while back had this pair.
4 years ago.
Okay.
These tractors, we'll back the truck up a little bit. After the merger in 1985, in 1987, these tractors were sitting at Hinsdale Engineering in Chicago.
Yep.
And at Burr Ridge. And they donated these tractors to the University of Wisconsin, River Falls Ag Engineering Program.
Yep.
And these tractors were in River Falls from 87 until 4 years ago.
Great school, by the way, folks. Check it out.
And they sold, the university had a piece of paper that said that Case IH had donated these tractors to the school.
Right.
So they were able to sell the tractors. They didn't go back to engineering. And then they went down to autumn auction down in Southern Illinois, got sold. And the man that owns these today, his name is Herbert Starzinger. He's a tractor collector enthusiast from Austria.
Austria.
Great guy. He contacted me on Facebook and wanted to know if I'd restore these 2 tractors for him. So I thought, well, they're brand new. Just so you guys know, these tractors are brand new. They have 370 hours on them. They've never been in the field. There's a piece of paper I got printed off that these tractors couldn't be run in the field. But just so you know, they are brand new tractors. Obviously, they didn't look like this when they
Yeah, what did they look like?
They were tough. They were sitting in a shed. They'd been outside. You know, the interiors were all damaged from just age and water leak through. These have the escape hatch on the roof, you know, because they're European. They were tough shape. But this one more so than this one. This one was pretty complete. This one we had wiring harnesses missing, headlights gone on them.
Well, Danny, for kind of the, you know, in my book, kind of the IH collector restoration expert, must have been a joy to work on these.
Well, that was the main reason why we took these on. Was I thought, you know what, I did that one tractor for Case IH, the articulated Magnum a few years back.
That tractor, that's 7140, right?
Yes.
It's in Racine right now, right?
They just moved it from Hinsdale Engineering to Racine this summer, so it's in their innovation center.
Okay.
I believe they call it up at Racine, Wisconsin.
So folks, when you go visit, just picture our friend Danny here and the lifetime of work and expertise and heart for history. That's what I love. I mean, you have tons of customers here that you've worked with on tractors with your business over the years, but it's that heart for the history that you and I have had a lot of fun talking about it over the years. And when you see that tractor, folks, that's Danny's handiwork. So hats off to what you did.
That was another fun project. The engineers that worked at Case IH were all retired and gone. The hydraulic shop that they bought all the valving from for underneath the hood to articulate that tractor in the middle, they were no longer in business. So my son Alex and we had to work on trying to figure out this whole thing because it had a joystick in it. You could push the button on the top of the thing and you could steer the tractor with the joystick, or you could push the button and then you could drive it with the steering wheel. It's a pretty crazy thing. And it had 1,500 hours on it. The tractor has 1,500 hours. So it spent some time out in the field. With the duals on the tractor, set up for 30-inch rows, you could drive the outside of that dual, you could drive around a 5-gallon pail with that tractor. It turned sharp. Extremely sharp. The center section in that tractor was out of the Super 70 series.
Sure.
It was just a reinvented of what they already had in the 72 and 74 88.
Very cool.
They redid it, obviously, because it had the Cummins motor, and they had to do some things different, but that's where the idea come from, was the Super 70 series was where that steering. So the front tires would turn all the way to the end of their stop, then the tractor would articulate in the middle, is how it worked. So.
Well, I need to get up to Racine to eyeball that thing, stand next to it in person. Now these 2 tractors, Danny, are these finished? I mean, they look like that.
These tractors are done. There's a couple little things we got to do on one of them here yet, but.
And you're going to be,
These are getting loaded in a container. There'll be a container gets dropped here from up into Minneapolis.
Okay.
And then Alex and I will load these. They can't have any dust or nothing on them. We have to use steel wheel chocks I have to make for the wheels. We have to use brand new ratchet straps to tie these down. They can't have any dirt on them. They're pretty fussy.
And a lot of rules and regs when you ship internationally.
There's a lot of rules and regulations. And then we have to take pictures of them all 4 corners. I have serial number plates coming because all we have are QFE numbers, and what QFE stands for is Quality Farm Equipment. That was a Hinsdale thing that they did, from what I've learned.
Okay.
So we have to put the serial number plate on, and they actually go right here on the frame rail on the side. These don't have them on there, they kill them off. But once we get that done, then these things they'll leave here. A truck will come back and pick them up, and then they get hauled to the cities and gets put on rail, and then it leaves on rail from here and goes to Baltimore, and then gets put on a ship, and then it'll take about a month.
Wow.
A month to 6 weeks from the time it leaves here, it'll be in Austria.
Pine Island, Minnesota is quite a ways from Austria.
It's a long ways. It's halfway around the world, I guess. I've never been there. We're
is-
invited to come and see Herbert and his wife and family.
And he has a museum over there?
He just built a brand new building at his farm, just to house his collector stuff. But Alex and I did a TranStar semi a couple years ago for Herbert. That's shipped over there. I had a 4186 that I sold on my sale in 2015.
Yeah, right.
Herbert bought that tractor, not at my auction. Another man bought it here, and then it was too loud for him,
Yep.
and he didn't really care for that rough riding 4-wheel drive.
Right.
So Herbert told me he was looking for a 4186. I said, hey, have I got a deal for you? I know where this thing is sitting right up the road, half a mile from our place. And
Yeah.
so he purchased that tractor. We got it already, and then they come and picked that up and hauled it out to Baltimore and got put on the ship. So Herbert already has one of my tractors. Plus, we did that semi for him here too and shipped it over there. So
You've got connected with folks all over the world
it's
over the
pretty
decades.
crazy. I got friends in New Zealand and Austria, Australia, England, France. I'm friends with Gene Conti from France. He's in Gap, France, southern France. And his grandfather was the first McCormick deering dealer in the country of France.
Wow.
And then it went to his dad, and now he has it. And they're not Case IH today. I think they're Kubota maybe, but
Okay. Now, Danny, you'd referred to Alex over here. Let's bring in son Alex. Now, folks, Alex is kind of, fair to say, taken over the business, or?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Trying to. That'll be his plan someday.
he's starting to cover for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to slow down a little bit, and then he wanted to start his own thing. He worked for Ziegler Cat for just short of 10 years,
Okay.
and on the construction and the ag side. And then
And Alex, what's the name of the business now? That's
Proving Grounds Repair.
Proving Ground Repair.
Yep. So that started 2 years ago on May 14th. I left Ziegler. I'd worked there for almost 10 years, like
Okay.
Danny had said. Started in the shop as an intern, and then kind of throughout that went into the rental department, then was night shift lead foreman. Eventually went into a field service truck, and I worked on the ag chem side.
Okay.
So fertilizer, sprayers, everything like that. And the last year that I was there, I was a customer support representative.
Okay.
So I did a lot of machine demoing, training to customers.
Okay.
And at that point, I just kind of decided I really missed wrenching and working on stuff. Danny wanted to slow down more in that, and I kind of had a hard time letting that stop out here
Yeah.
because it's been going on for a long time. He's got a ton of knowledge on all this stuff, and he's done a lot of cool things, and I didn't want to see it just kind of fade away. So that's a big reason why I came out here and
You-
wanted
sounds
to
like-
start my own thing.
Alex, you have a heart for history too there.
Yeah,
What Danny's built.
Yep.
been beat into him since a boy. Yeah.
Well, it's, and you know, I guess the auction price, as the stories I write, keep speaking to folks, increasing interest, it seems, in, you know, pre-def tractors, whether they're red, green, whatever. You know, they just run longer, but what's needed, of course, you know, great folks that can keep, you know, work on these tractors and equipment or trucks. You guys work on trucks with amazing truck across the way in the other part of the shop.
We don't really specialize in working on big trucks or anything. We've done a couple, but we're doing a restoration thing over here right now. It's my dad's old semi with 65,000 actual miles on it. We bought a semi this spring out in California, and I drove it home, 98 Peterbilt, model 384. We took the cab off of it, the sleeper off it, the hood off of it. We brought my dad's 57 Ford that I've had on, it's been down at the I-80 truck stop in their museum for 10 years, and we brought that home. And Alex and I started on that with the shoehorn. And we're gonna put that cab off that 57 Ford on that 99 Peterbilt chassis with a cat engine in it. And It's going to be pretty unique. It's going to be a heavy haul truck. It's got the big rubber on the front and heavy axle, and we've got my dad's old dozer in the back that's all restored. So yeah, when I come pulling into a show with that thing, and we're going to actually use the truck. It'll have wet kit on it and everything. So
Well, whether it's a truck or a tractor, I'll ask both you guys. I'll start with Alex. You get something in that's, beat up, rough condition. What joy do you find, or what's that like bringing it back to, as we pan around here, you get stuff looking like this.
Most of the time just seeing how happy the customers are with it and how surprised they are.
Right.
There's just a guy here this morning that worked on his Case 930, and when he brought it here, it was, completely covered in oil and grease, and all I did was washed it for maybe a half a day.
Yep.
And cleaned it all up, serviced it, got it running, fixed a few things on it electrically, and then he came and saw it today and he couldn't believe it. He can't believe the tractor still looks that nice and runs that good.
And his dad bought the tractor back in the 60s or 70s, and
So it's got that,
used it as kind of their big tractor.
right,
So
got that family connection.
yeah, another family connection with that one too.
You must have seen that over your career, Danny, just the power of that.
People are pretty loyal to certain stuff, and like I always tell everybody, once you say your dad bought this thing brand new and it's gone, he traded it off, then later in life, guys like me or him come along and we're trying to find our dad's old tractor or grandpa's.
Right.
It is darn hard to find something that's, once it's gone, there are trucks move stuff all over the country, all over the world actually.
Yeah.
Look at these two little tractors, they're going clear to Austria.
Right.
Would you ever start finding them? No, there was no possible way you'd ever find them unless you had some sort of a paper trail. It's really tough to find the old stuff back.
Danny and Alex, maybe you can help me. I've told people for a number of years now, one, if I had time, but if I could start another business, it would be Tractor CSI. Finding your dad's or your grandpa's tractor back through the auction records or the dealership. And a lot of times it's interesting to me, there might be an identifying mark on it. A dent
That
or
does
something.
happen. Some guys tell me about some handle or something that their dad or grandpa put on this tractor for climbing on and off it, and they're like, does it have this on it? And the guy's like, yeah, well, that's got to be my grandpa's, and then that's how some of the guys have found stuff, just
Right.
from some dent or some handle or some special paint job that
Right.
somebody put on it, or they painted their name on the side of the hood or something, and people, they find stuff. My nephew and my neighbor from down in El Cader have black striped 766 tractors. Very popular tractor back in 1976.
Yep.
My nephew obviously gets that from me, I guess. He comes over, he plants corn at my brother's farm, at our family farm. He's
Yep.
coming down the road, our neighbor, he has a 766 black stripe, and they're both in the field. My nephew comes down with the planter. He stops on the road, Dave's cutting hay, stops there, standing there talking. My nephew walks over, looks down at the serial number on Dave's 766, and he walks over and looks at the serial number on his, and there's one tractor missing between those two tractors.
Almost brothers or sisters.
They were on the same load, I'm sure. There was 3 of them came out of the Rock Island at the Farmall plant.
Yep.
Usually there was 3 to 4 on a load, probably 3 of those medium-sized frame tractors.
Sure.
The tractor that my nephew bought came out of Postville, Iowa, brand new. And they transferred that tractor from Dubuque, Iowa, from Raider Implement in Dubuque to Postville. And then my neighbor Dave Kabliska, his dad bought the 766 from Romberg Implement.
Sure.
And that was sold brand new at Romberg Implement in El Cader.
Wow.
So those 2 tractors, there's one in that area down there. If I could find it, it'd be another Tractor CSI story for you.
Tractor CSI.
If I could find that tractor, I'd probably have to buy it just so we'd have 3 of them right in a row and all owned by us guys. It'd be kind of cool.
Well, and Alex, we had a couple customers come in here as we were chit-chatting before we started recording, and so yeah, it looks like you're a busy dude here.
Yeah, yep, it's been busy. There's been some customers that I've had kind of along the way, but a lot of them are people that Danny's known for a long time, and now they're bringing stuff back out again.
Sure.
And I've been working on it, their kids are kind of getting to the age now too where they're making decisions, so I'm starting to deal with them a little bit more, and it's just kind of moving on to the next generation.
Works out good for me because I push dirt too. You know, I do farm waterways and tree clearing and shed sites and what have you. So I'm gone in the dozer a lot in the spring and the fall, and then Alex is here Monday through Friday, and well, depending on our workload, sometimes Saturday and Sunday too. But
Danny, I'd probably ask you, but you know, you're known as Dirt Boys, and kind of as the internet came along and discussion groups and Red Power, and how did the Dirt Boys name?
owe that to him. I worked at Case IH and IH and Case IH, and I left there. I bought the Artie Cat shop down here in Mazeppa, and I ran that for 10 years, and then I sold it to the folks that have it now. And I come out here, I was gonna slow down, just do dirt work, you know, and kind of putz on stuff, and then couldn't come up with a name. And I said, well, we work in the dirt and we play in the dirt because we build pulling tractors and we do all that kind of stuff. And Alex come up with the name. Let's just call it Dirt Boys. So I'm the Dirt Boys Proving Grounds, and then he just kind of shirt-tailed off that and calls his business the Proving Grounds Repair. So
I love it.
Both that way there is a connection between the two of us. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, works out good for both of us. And you know, as I get older and we want to do some traveling and slow down a little bit, and then everything's still running, he's here fixing stuff, and it all keeps going. And I'm only a phone call away, and you know, sometimes it's nice to have an extra hand, but you know, he figures it out just like I did. And you know, like these big hoists that we built in the shop here, these are all built in-house. We built those when we finished this last room here a couple years ago, but those are all hand built here.
And folks, the Heart for History here doesn't stop with tractors. Now, we were, again, chit-chatting, and I mentioned that IH freezer that we posted on our Facebook page the other day from Waseca and all the discussion it created. And then, Danny, you mentioned you'd picked up an international lathe?
It's not international lathe, it's just an old turning lathe. It's a Cincinnati, I believe.
Okay.
And we did some history on that thing, and it's 1903 that we use here in the shop. It's been converted over to electric motor, but it was run off of a hit and miss motor that's set outside and a belt in, and then it had a live shaft inside the building that run all the different machines. And we've got that lathe here, and we use that thing quite often. I mean, it probably gets used once a week or something. We're always making or welding up a shaft and turning it down. But yeah, just bought $1,000 worth of machining tools for it last year.
Well, I love that. In a world we live in now where everything is, you know, almost built to be thrown away. Yeah. You guys are keeping things running, keeping farmers running, bringing smiles to people, like you said, Alex, on the, was it case 930 or?
Yep.
Yeah. And again, Alex, now for people who are needing some help or a job, where again can they find you with Proving Grounds?
They can find Proving Grounds Repair on Facebook. And
what's do you have a phone number they can call to, or?
Yeah, my phone number is on the page. It is also 507-206-1276.
Gotcha. Well, check out that Facebook page, folks. And Danny, thank you for the time. Before we stop, I do have to ask you, in the background there are quite a few trophies up on top of Mr. IH. Now, was that baseball days, or?
Yeah. No, they all got tractors on there.
Okay.
And all those little tractors, you know, that little $10 trophy, you know, it costs a lot of money, just so you guys know. And you get that disease, and it doesn't go away easy.
When did you start pulling?
I was 14 years old when I started.
And what tractor?
My brother, I hate to say this, but my brother had a John Deere tractor. And I actually ran it at the local tractor pull.
What model was
it? It was a 2840. He bought it brand new in our hometown down there from Mehe.
Yeah. Okay.
And that kind of started the whole thing. And then, you know, then pretty soon we pulled an M, and then I pulled the 560, and then I've had several since. And we made it all the way up to Pro Farm tractors. I actually just sold that Pro Farm, the old Bull, the Super WD9. I just sold that in September here when I did my online thing, and we got rid of some of this excess stuff in the number 11086. But
so you are trying to slow down.
I'm trying to slow down, but it seems like the slow down speeds up. And like Alex always
shaking his head.
Alex says, well, he said, just remember one thing: slow down. We're in a hurry. So.
Wow.
I'm still waiting for the slowdown to happen. It has.
I like working. Everybody asks me when I'm going to retire, and I said, why would I want to retire? What would I do? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been involved in this stuff my whole entire life, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, we're having fun. Well, Danny, it's always a pleasure to visit with you, and hopefully we'll have some more stuff cooking. So stay tuned on that, folks. But again, hats off to the work you guys have done, and I guess, folks, if you're ever in Austria down the road, maybe call Danny here, and
I'll get you set up. You can have a private tour of Herbert's museum there, and he would love to show it to you.
very cool.
Great
Hey,
guy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, folks. As I was leaving, Danny invites me into the back end of the shop here, and Danny, you got to tell a story. This dozer.
So this dozer has been in our family since my dad started working for this contractor in our hometown of Decatur, Iowa, J.C. Costigan, Clark Costigan. And Dad started running this bulldozer in 1959, and it's a 1954 model, so it wasn't real old at the time. My dad ran this thing the whole time he worked there. He was building a golf course in our hometown in Decatur, across from Mobile Track Solutions there in Decatur today. And I was 6 months old, wrapped up in a blanket on the seat of this dozer while he was working, building that golf course. And the owner of this dozer, he pulls in Sunday morning. My dad works 7 days a week, you know. My mom brought me and my two older brothers out there to have lunch with Dad.
Yep.
He has me wrapped up on there, and he's out pulling the scraper or whatever he was doing. And Clark pulls in and says, "What are you doing to that kid on that dozer? You get him off there." Well, you see what happened today.
Danny, moving dirt is just in your blood, isn't it?
It is. I like pushing dirt, and I started out with Caterpillar, so just so everybody's clear, I'm a cat man and then an IH man. So
Well,
we do them both, and it's just a fun thing, and he'd be pretty proud of that we've got his old dozers all fixed up. And I will have this on behind that semi that's up there in the other shop that we're
And that was the
doing
semi
conversion
Dad
on.
drove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, fantastic again here, bringing history, honoring it, bringing it back to life, the family element. But Dirt Boys right here, folks. Danny Anderson. Thanks again, Danny.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.